Alrighty, welcome back. Today we're going to try and finish off a few of the weapons that we've been preparing for so that they will be firing as intended. Every single weapon we have has a different firing functionality in one way or another. We're going to be focusing on the assault rifle, the pistol, and the sniper rifle, and we'll see how we go for time, whether we get into the shotgun. The rocket launcher will have to wait until we get into grenades and explosives and other throwables, because we are not line tracing for the rocket launcher. We will actually be creating a projectile. Let's pop over to our blueprints folder, our weapons, and we're going to open up our pistol to begin with. Now, we haven't done anything in the pistol yet, so we're going to open the full blueprint editor right up here. So the first thing we'll do is grab our interface events, which are being called from the character. Let's type in pull trigger, and we'll get the event pull trigger. So every time we pull the trigger, that's what will happen here. This is separate to the event we made in the assault rifle to test. So when the interface calls, it will call to the weapon in our slot, and that weapon, if it is the pistol, will then call this event. One of the first variables we need to use is trigger pulled. We made this earlier, so this is where we're going to be setting it, so that we can't reload our weapon or switch our weapon if we are holding on to either the mouse button or the right trigger on a controller. And then next up, it's nice and simple. All we need to do is type in fire. And fire weapon, there is our function. We can plug that in there. When we open up fire weapon, that refers to the function created in our base weapon, and we'll ask if we're reloading. Then if we have enough to shoot, then subtract a clip, then pull the line trace, and then subtract the health of whatever we hit and spawn an emitter. So that's great. Back over in pistol, let's compile and save that and move on to our sniper rifle. Again, opening up in full blueprint editor. I'll just move these over because I don't like the overlap. Again, just leaving them there just in case we need them in the future. Let's right click in the sniper rifle and get pull trigger, the event pull trigger. And now we will get is trigger pulled, another instance of this variable. And we don't have to create these variables for each and every single weapon because we created it in our base weapon. And then once again, we'll get fire weapon and plug that in. Now, the difference between the sniper rifle and the pistol, as far as the pistol's fire rate goes, that will be determined on how quickly we can pull our trigger, how quickly we can click our mouse, or how quickly we can pull it on the controller. But the sniper, in my opinion, it should have some sort of cooldown, being a heavier weapon. So we're going to add a cooldown variable. And we're going to do it in weapon base. In case you had different types of sniper rifles, then you could use that variable all over again. Or for example, say a rocket launcher. Let's go back up to weapon base and add that variable there. Hit the variable button here, and if it doesn't already default to Boolean, you can select variable type here. Let's call this variable cooldown. Super simple, super easy. Compile and save the parent. So now when we save that change and right click, we can set cooldown. So this will happen if we can fire our weapon. So we'll make some room here. Get cooldown, and this will make much more sense once I've written it out and explained it. We'll set is trigger pulled to start with, and then we'll ask if our weapon is in cooldown, basically asking if we've fired it recently. If it isn't in cooldown, so not, then we will fire the weapon, set cooldown to true, thus not being able to fire again instantly, set a delay, and this will be the cooldown period. This could also be done for, say, a Magnum or some sort of heavy pistol where you don't want the player firing as fast as they can pull the trigger. This cooldown I will leave for, I don't know, 2 seconds. We'll copy this over, get another cooldown. And so after 2 seconds, we can fire our weapon again. And it's as simple as that. So already you can see here that there's a slight variation between the pistol and the sniper rifle. But we don't have to write out this fire weapon script every single time because we've already created it. Let's compile and save that sniper and pop over to our assault rifle. So once we have the trigger pulled, we will fire the weapon once to begin with, but now we need to set it up to be automatic. Now for this, we're going to get a re-triggerable delay. And this re-triggerable delay is going to repeat the fire weapon script. So in this case, once we fired the weapon once, we will trigger the delay. Now this delay will be our rounds per second, how many bullets can fire in a second. The only other thing we need to ask is trigger pulled? Because if the trigger is not pulled, then we don't want to fire the script again. So if the trigger is pulled, we just drag off true and go back to fire weapon. I'm just going to move this branch down so I can see that connection because you visually can't see it until we double click and create some reroute nodes. Just like that. And now, so long as the trigger's pulled, we will fire that over and over again. But what happens when we run out of ammunition? Well, that's handled inside the fire weapon script. If we don't have a bullet, we're not going to fire a bullet. And later on, we'll attach some sound effects to this so that it will just have a repeating sound effect. Now, we haven't got switching weapons set up yet. So what we're going to do is set up a method by which we can access these weapons. This isn't going to be the way we access them in future. As I may or may not have mentioned earlier, I prefer the 2-weapon system, potentially a firearm. We're just going to hit 1 and take that direct input. The same with 2, 3, 4, and 5 for our 5 weapons. I kind of order these weapons based on when I would expect my player to encounter them in some sort of campaign mode. So all we need for this is equipped weapon. We don't need the child actor class because this would get the child actor class, and similar to our variables, we want to set child actor class. And this is just going to essentially create a new blueprint or a new actor inside the world based on whatever class we have here. So let's start by typing in weapon and we'll get all our weapons. So if we hit 1, it's going to set our equipped weapon to the assault rifle. Let's copy this. We'll move these over just to give them a little bit more room. I missed one there. Straighten up those nodes. We'll give this a little bit more space. I always seem to miss that last one. So when we hit 1, we'll get the assault rifle. When we hit 2, we'll get the pistol. When we hit 3, we'll get the shotgun, which we haven't finished yet. When we hit 4, we'll get the sniper rifle. And when we hit 5, we'll get the rocket launcher. If you would prefer to have a game where you just enable whether or not you have a weapon equipped and it automatically is assigned to whatever number key that is, like earlier PC games, I'm not sure of any games that do it off the top of my head now, then you'd pretty much be set here. You'd just probably put a boolean here saying, do I have an assault rifle equipped? But I, again, prefer the Halo system, just my own personal preference, nothing against any other systems. And one more thing we're going to do for all of our classes, which is quite easy, is this here. When we release the trigger, we need to set is trigger pulled to false. Otherwise, we'll never stop pulling the trigger. We're going to use all of our bullets for one. Over here in pistol, release trigger. Make sure you grab the event, release trigger, nothing else. And just copy this and plug that in there. Set it to false. One more for our sniper rifle. Event, release. Sometimes you can type event beforehand and you will get the events as opposed to all the other options. It's up to you, whatever's easier to find for you. And there we go. When we pull the trigger should fire as followed. When we release the trigger, it should also fire as followed. Compile and save those classes there. I'll just move these in order. Compiling and saving there. Over to the test map. When I hit play, there's my assault rifle. And if I hold the trigger, it is firing. You can see the ammo disappearing there. And then it stops firing because the fire function takes care of that. So now let's hit 2 and we have the pistol. If I hold down that button, it does nothing. But if I fire as many times as I can, just like this, then it will fire as many times as humanly possible. 3 will give me the shotgun, but we haven't got anything for the shotgun. 4 is the sniper rifle. So now I'm going to hit it once. Good, our firing is working. Now I'm going to hit it 2 more times, but I'm going to hit this as quickly as I can to see that that cooldown is working. So if you can hear my mouse, then you'll hear it hit twice, but you should only see me jump down to 3 bullets in the top left. There it is. The cooldown's working. No quick shots on the sniper. So our firing is working for those 3 weapons.